I think the knife crime which has erupted over the last few weeks and has been seen again in London today is part of this movement of violence that's taking hold of our streets. It's nothing new, but this surge is particularly significant at the moment, and it's something I'm sure that will be targeted by the new government. The rise in knife crime, as indeed the rise in violent rioting. And the fact that there are 12-year-old boys who have been identified in the riots is even more alarming. Two 12-year-old boys, and I think one 15-year-old boy who denied involvement. But the business with knife crime, again, I come back to the issues I've raised in the past. First of all, there's several factors that contribute to the rise in knife crime among young offenders in London. The whole idea of deprivation, the lack of opportunities, the breakdown in family structures, often at the heart of the issue, the easy access to knives. And many young people find themselves in environments where violence is normalised, and carrying a knife is seen as a necessary form of self-defence or a way to gain respect. I mean, it is nonsensical, absurd, and dangerous. And the influence of social media cannot be underestimated in this drive towards. It's part of that sort of machismo image making, which is grafted onto so much at the moment. If you have nothing, what else are you going to define yourself by except for the contents of your trousers? It's not a very good way to assert individuality. Platforms that glorify violence and gang culture have created a digital environment where young people are exposed to or even encouraged to engage in criminal activities. The easy access to knives, both online and in local stores, exacerbates the problem, making it all too accessible for young people, for youths, to gather arms. I don't think I wouldn't like to draw that link between rap or particularly drill, because I think there's plenty of music and plenty of lyrics and theatre work and fiction which engages with the violent, which doesn't necessarily spill over into actual violence. But that debate is still there. That debate is still relevant, and I've certainly engaged in it. I've tended to defend drill. But in the light of all these challenges, I think the present government should explore innovative solutions to curb knife crime. And one such solution lies in the controversial but potentially effective use of microchip technology. The idea was implemented in China, where the government used microchips to monitor the movement of knives, particularly in regions such as Xinjiang, where the Uyghur community was subject to extreme surveillance by the Chinese government. While the Chinese government's application of the technology raises significant ethical concerns about the freedoms denied to the Uyghur community and the human rights abuses, the underlying technology offers a potential tool for addressing knife crime in London. By microchipping knives, we could create a system that tracks the movement and ownership of these weapons, making it significantly harder for them to be used in crimes undetected, making the ownership of these weapons clear from the beginning, or which shops these weapons emerge from. imagine a scenario where all knives sold in London were equipped with microchips that register the buyer's detail and monitor the knife's location in real time. Such a system could be integrated with existing ID checks, much like the procedure, that I recently experienced when I purchased a Stanley knife from Amazon. In that instance, I was only a couple of days ago. I was required to produce identification on my doorstep to confirm that I was over 18 before the package was actually delivered into my hands. And this level of scrutiny for a £5 Stanley knife, combined with microchipping technology, could provide a more robust mechanism for controlling knife access and therefore usage. The implementation of such a system would require careful consideration of privacy concerns and the potential for misuse, and it would be essential to ensure that technology is used proportionately, transparently, and also retroactively, so that you could take knives to be microchipped, with oversight to prevent any infringement of civil liberties. Additionally, this approach must be part of a broader strategy that would include education, community engagement, and support for at-risk youth. But the rise in knife crime among young offenders in London is too alarming to avoid any form, to spurn, to dismiss urgent and innovative solutions. But while there are factors and cultural influences that play a significant role in the rise of knife crime, technology could provide a critical tool in our efforts to reduce violence. And the idea of microchipping knives, despite its controversial origins, presents an opportunity to track and control the movement of dangerous weapons just as we would track and control the movement of guns, potentially saving lives. But technology alone is not going to solve the problem. We need to address the root causes of youth violence, invest more in real education rather than learning to get some sort of goal of a piece of paper and a university entrance. That is not education. That is herding people like cattle through a system, through a cattle wash. Or a sheep dip. We need to have education where students of any age are encouraged to deal with issues, address issues critically with informed interest rather than indifference, rather than becoming passive receptors of information. And that's what so many schools provide for their students. And we shouldn't be surprised that what we get is students addicted to video games and watching YouTube. I mean, I do encourage people to watch my YouTube, but I want you to engage. And there's a few times when people are fairly dismissive. There's the occasional troll. But a lot of the time, when people write things, it's interesting and informed, and often it challenges what I've just said. And great, I'm not an oracle. It's I'm just sitting in my utility room, and I either just about to or just finished a lesson or as a ramble after 2 hours of traditional animating. I just think these are the thoughts that go through my head while I'm doing something else, and I think got to put it out there, and we've got to address the root problems of violence. We've got to invest in education. We've got to work on community support intervention programs that offer young people alternatives to crime, because education alone on its own is going to take a long time. we've got to repair the damage that has been done by 50, 60 odd years of nonsense. Entirely predicated on quite good stuff by Piaget and Vygotsky and all these people about experiential learning. Yes, experience is the way we learn, but we've tailored it all so it's experiential learning of stuff that that children are passively fed. Learn this in an experienced way, but learn it by these conventions and in this particular box, and then we'll test you to see if you've learnt it properly. That's not learning by experience. That is stealth learning by rote. Just we're not telling students to do it like that. We're saying, oh, play with this bit of plasticine, and then learn this. It's nonsense. We need a more honest form of education, which opens people's minds to possibilities. And the problem with that, the problem with an open question, is you never quite know what the answer is. So teachers so much prefer to ask a closed question where the answer is in the book. An open question, what did you do this weekend? Terrifying when students start answering, particularly small students who've done something extraordinary. We need to be more inspirational in the classroom at any age, and we need to encourage people to come back into the classroom at any age. Only through a comprehensive approach can we possibly hope to stem the tide of knife crime and of violence on our streets and create a safer future for all Londoners, and in fact for everyone in the United Kingdom. We can be a beacon of hope to the world.